Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel. Welcome back to another live stream, and welcome back to another tactical preview and realistically another must-win game for Manchester United tonight, away from home against Wolverhampton Wanderers. We need 3 points and we need a performance. That's all I ask for tonight. Nothing too much, just the basics. I want Manchester United to play well and I want Manchester United to win. What we need to figure out today is how United can go about achieving that. How Manchester United can set up away from home to get all 3 points. The starting 11 that we should be going for. So that is what we will be discussing today. We will be talking about some of the stats behind everything that is happening right now. What Ruben Amorim is doing well and what Ruben Amorim needs to do more of. That's the plan for today. Before we get into any of that though, get yourselves in the chat and let me know how you're doing. And we have immediately started the stream with a gifted membership from Steve, who is an absolute legend. Steve, thank you very much. And also David, who is another legend, gifting another membership. Guys, you know what to do. Love hearts in the chat for both Steve and David because they are just icons of this community and immediately bringing the positive vibes in a moment where for United it feels a little bit flat all of a sudden. So thank you very much to you two and also everyone else in the chat very early on. Why is Mainu in the thumbnail? Amorim would pass away if he started a game, lol. Yeah, am I baiting everyone by putting Cobby in the thumbnail? Maybe it's a conversation that we can have for today's stream, because I would say something needs to change. I think that's fair to say, and maybe that could be Cobby coming in. Who knows? Who knows? It's going to be a 5 a.m. watch again on a work day. Long day. Long day. Lose my voice already. That's not good. Lose my voice. Don't get mad when they don't do beep, though. Hey. It's fine, all right. We believe in Manchester United. We believe in Manchester United because ultimately we currently sit in 12th. But if we can get 3 points tonight against one of the worst teams in like Premier League history, realistically, in terms of their points so far, if we can get 3 points tonight against that, we can go joint 5th, technically into 6th because of goal difference. So the season isn't over. We've had some poor results recently, but this is far from over. United are still very competitive this season and still a lot to aim for and a lot that we can achieve. And I mean, come on, if there's a game to find some form, if there's a game to find a performance, a game to get 3 points, it's got to be this one. It has to be this one. Now, we probably would have said the same about Grimsby, right, in the Carabao Cup, and it didn't work out that way, and I got clowned for it. Thank you very much, Steve. But, come on. If we want 3 points, this is one where we should be getting it. And I think what we will demand as fans also is a performance that shows us that we don't just rely on, you know, set pieces and long balls to sort of prove that we are a team that can become dominant. I think that's what we want to see tonight. Signs that we are a side that can actually do damage when we control the ball as well. I think that's what I personally really want to see from the game tonight. Now, I don't know that Wolves are quite as easy as what everyone makes out. In terms of the expected goals against this season, they would have been expected to have conceded 18.9 and have conceded 29. So they are getting a little bit unfortunate with goalkeeping errors, but also worldy finishes from the opposition. But let's be real, they're very beatable. Very, very beatable. We got Sashan with the super chat. Thank you very much. Bruno, Ram and Cobby in centre mid when AFCON begins. Thoughts? I like it. I like it. The only question I would have is that I always sort of prefer Bruno playing towards the left-hand side because I think that's his better position, personally. But I certainly like the idea of trying to get Bruno a little bit further forward. And I also really do appreciate the super chat. So thank you very much. Hello, mate. Just love your content. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't see us winning this game. We hardly ever win there. Only one I can remember is Cobby late and seeing the pitch. Yeah, that was a great night. Cobby Mainu in the last minute was incredible. I look at this Wolves team, I'll be honest, and I don't see a load of quality. If I'm being honest, if you guys remember, you know, cast your minds back to last year in the Christmas period in December, we faced Wolves and we had a bit of a problem. And realistically, it was Cunha and Aït-Nouri were causing a lot of problems for us. Wolves don't have them anymore, partly because we took one of them. which kind of helps. They're also without João Gomez, probably their best player so far this season. Wolves are hit right now, so Wolves are a bad team and they're missing people. Like, there is no excuse here. We're going to create a Manchester United 11 which can dominate this game, and secure all 3 points. Beautiful. Why is Steve talking about me ironing my jeans? Am I missing something? Am I missing something there? I'm not sure. Morning, Alex. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. We hardly ever win at any away ground, lol. Fair point, right? And I get the sort of feeling of negativity. I get that sort of concern at the moment. But I think we've got to try and be positive where we can as well, right? We did not so long back go on a little bit of a winning streak. I, like you guys, am frustrated by a lot of things that Ruben Amorim is doing. But I think this is just such a great moment for United. And again, if you told us we were going to have this start and still find ourselves in the top 6, it's such a great chance for us to get ourselves on the front foot and moving in the right direction. So we've got to try and take that moment. And that's the plan for this stream, to come up with a starting 11. Lomans in goal is the obvious one. You know, there is no debate. There is no conversation. That's what we are going to do. Unless he's been, I don't know, struck by a bomb or something, he will play. We've got to try and find what we do with the rest of the team. The back three. The one the other night against West Ham was a bit of a weird one, partly because of injuries. Hopefully we can see some change there. Something isn't going right in the midfield. The wing-backs didn't feel quite right the other night in terms of how they operated. And the front three didn't really work for me either. So we need to find some changes. We need to find something different from what we saw the other day. By the way, look at Alex in the chat with 5 gifted memberships. Alex, thank you very, very much for your generosity. Alex, as I will always point out, is a man who has been here literally from the first ever stream. He is a legend. So make sure to say thank you to Alex in the chat. With the back three, for me, I think the big question is Yoro or Mazraoui. Actually, it's 2 big questions, I guess. Yoro or Mazraoui and Shaw or Lisandro Martinez. I believe De Ligt is expected to be back fit. And if he's back fit, he's got to be back in a starting 11 because we missed him the other day. I think what West Ham had was always the long ball that they could use up to the striker, and the likes of Heaven and Yoro couldn't dominate the duel against Wilson. And we missed that. It meant that even when we did press well on occasion, they sort of always had that long ball that they could use to get out from the back, and that was a problem. It made it really difficult for us to sustain pressure. We missed De Ligt. We also missed Maguire as well. If De Ligt is fit, he's straight back in the starting 11, and I have no doubts about that. I think there are questions, though, over who you play either side of him, for a few different reasons. First of all, we've got Lenny Yoro, who has played a lot of football this season on the right side of the fence. Recently has had a little bit of a dip in form, although I think he did all right in the second half the other night. There's an argument you rotate him out. Again, we spoke about this the other day. There's an argument that you protect him a little bit. The option that you could play there is Mazraoui. Now, we know that Mazraoui is someone who's a little bit better on the ball, naturally being a fullback. He's more attacking. I think he's a bit more technical. He's a bit better in build-up as well. And you would hope Wolves are going to be a side that we can dominate against. Now, I will come back to their style in just a moment. But before that, let's talk about the rest of the back three. Luke Shaw has started every Premier League game this season, so it's fair to assume he would start again. But there is always one problem with Luke Shaw. I think he's a great footballer. But there's always one thing you're not sure of, and that's whether or not he's going to stay fit. United are playing football more regularly at the moment. Is there a chance we have to consider Luke Shaw's fitness? Because what we cannot afford is to lose him to injury with the African Cup of Nations coming up. With the amount of players that we're about to lose, some really important players, we cannot risk losing someone like Shaw. So we've got to make sure that we manage him. For example, Yoro could even come over here to help with that. Or Lisandro Martinez, who is, I would say, now back in contention to play. I would still be ever so slightly shocked if he started, to be honest. But he's obviously getting there. He's had 2 substitute appearances now. Immediately, he's shown what he can bring on the ball, which I think is always fun to see with him. We always expect that. Is there a chance of the conversation starting here that he could come into the starting 11? Or is it a case of, once again, you can see him around the 65th or the 70th before then maybe next week you give him a start or the week after? I'd love to hear what you guys think in terms of what you think our best 3 would be, but also who we need to protect the most as well. Last match, that Licher over the defence long ball to Bruno was something we have missed for a long, long time. Yeah, Shaw's phenomenal on the ball, but in terms of passing range, you can't beat Lisandro Martinez. He's just so good. So good. Shaw left centre-back won't change for now, in my opinion. Amorim spoke about needing his left wing-back to be playing and training there regularly for that role. I don't think that's been happening yet. Yeah, at the moment I see Shaw as left centre-back or not in the team. Based on how Amorim spoke, I think this is his position for now. It might change in the future, but I agree, not right now. I would go for Mazraoui, De Ligt and Shaw, but we need to consider Shaw's fitness. In that case, start Licher. I think for me, it's one more week of Shaw at left centre-back. I think it's one more week of looking after Lisandro Martinez and giving him time from the bench. I don't think he's quite there yet. Sorry about Loki going crazy in the background. I don't think it's quite Licher time just yet. So it's Shaw and De Ligt for me. So the question is Yoro and Mazraoui, who you guys would go for out of these two. And I think for me personally, where United are at right now with the problems that we've faced recently on the ball, I quite like the idea of Mazraoui playing over Yoro. Doesn't mean I suddenly hate Yoro. Still think he's very good. Still like him a lot. But I think I would bring Mazraoui into the team. Loki wants Licher. He does. He's screaming for it. He's screaming for it. What do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this? I think this is the perfect match to start Licher in. Wolves aren't a pressing intense team and will allow our centre-backs to have more time on the ball. I think tactically, how I think the game will play, it does suit Licher. I think it would suit how he wants to play in terms of his ball progression. Ultimately, we don't know how fit he is. And if he's not fit, this isn't the game for him, if you know what I mean. No matter how it lines up tactically, if he isn't physically ready, if he's not there yet, then it doesn't matter who the opponent is, he can't play. And I think for me, he's still not there just yet. I wouldn't think. Just because of the injuries he's had, we don't want to damage his body even further. I think we'll play it safe. Only one real centre-back on the pitch. Yeah, and that's my only concern if we were to take Yoro out, particularly away from home. I think you feel the second a team is at home, they're going to carry a bit more threat than what they typically do. So that is something that I would worry about a little bit. But I still think there's enough here. You know, the other season, there was a spell where Luke Shaw was a centre-back and we played in the back four. So even then, we only had one real centre-back as such. So I think it's okay. I think it can work for this game. We are talking about the worst team in the league here, right? That's what we're talking about. We could also take Lisandro Martinez off at half-time, no harm. Yeah, that's also a fair point. I think if it was me, I'm giving Licher 30 minutes from the bench, 25 minutes, whatever, something like that. And then maybe next game, who we got next? We got Bournemouth next. Maybe you can have a start there. And like you say, you could take him off at half-time, which is something that I think we sometimes forget when we're trying to manage a player back from injury. We always think about bringing them on. We don't think about taking them off early, especially not at half-time. But Amorim doesn't mind doing that. Did I see Steve Brooks in the chat? I did. And look at him. 5 gifted memberships. Was it payday this week or something? Because the gifted memberships are flying in right now. Steve, thank you very, very much for that iconic behaviour, guys. You know what to do. For everyone that has gifted memberships so far, love hearts all over the place because they are legends. Legends, legends, legends. I'd be amazed if Wolves don't go for a mid/low block. So that's what I want to talk about. Because I've got Wolves initially here in a 3-4-3, sort of matching with United. And I'm not entirely sure how they're going to set up in terms of like who will play because of a couple of players that have got out right now. But Bellegarde on the right-hand side, when he plays, he sort of profiles and starts on the team sheet as a right 10. But defensively, he'll often tuck a little bit deeper. And they often end up as a bit more of like a 3-5-2. There are even occasions where you will then see the other inside forward, whoever it may be, dropping into this position. And they almost become, what's that? Like a 3-5-1-1? Or you could even call it a 3-1-4-1-1. You know, just lots of numbers really on a football pitch. But they like to try and crowd the middle of the pitch if they can. They like to have lots of bodies in the middle. They're not exactly a high-pressing team. You're right. I don't expect them to go Gegen-pressing from minute 1. However, a bit like United, I think on things like goal kicks, they will. Those are the moments where they do tend to go a bit more man for man. And with them initially being in a back three and us doing the same, there is that moment where they might go man-to-man on the first press on a goal kick. Open play, I think United will have time. Goal kicks, I think United will face pressure, which is interesting. I think the other thing we have to consider is... I've completely lost where I was going with that point. What was I about to say? I had something in my head and it's just gone. No idea. I'm back. I'm back in the room. I know what I was going to say. What's something that Wolves will sometimes do is in their mid-block, they're, again, not as passive as you think. I think when we look at them in the league table and we see them at the bottom conceding however many goals and doing terribly, I think we expect them to sort of sit in their box and wait to be beaten a little bit, but I don't think we've got that so much with Wolves, particularly under the new manager. What we'll sometimes see is they'll try and send you to one side of the pitch and then they'll try and press you from there. And the wing-backs in particular don't mind joining. They're not wing-backs that just exclusively sit in a back five. For example, if they play against a back four, and let's say you've got like a winger in this position here, often if a team plays into a winger, Wolves will use this as the moment for the wing-back to be a bit more aggressive. So it is a mid-block largely, but they have moments of aggression within the block, which I think is a good thing to see from their point of view. I think it's good for them to do that. For United, it's interesting because it might mean that the gaps open up. It might mean that it's not quite as much of a low block as what we're sort of a little bit fearful of. When teams get loads of men behind the ball and are really difficult to break down, United have a problem. We can't play through that. I don't know that Wolves will necessarily be that. There is that chance that they like to jump out from their mid-block with the wing-backs to try and get the pressure on the ball. And there's a chance that opens up a bit of space, which might be something which suits us. It might make this game a little bit easier for us. The fact that they won't just be over here. I think these wing-backs will try and get out, which is where I think we can then have spaces in here and in here. That's something to think about. I think also, when they do try and lock one side, if they're successful, sure, that's nice. They can pin you to one side of the pitch. If they fail, you get so much room on the other side, which is where Shaw and Mazraoui could be really useful to take advantage of that. Let's say Ahmad's got the ball over here and Wolves sort of lock on over here. They try and press. But if you can get out, you then get so much room over here. And this is where United could probably start getting overloads. So that's something to consider. I think they will press on goal kicks. I think after that, they'll then be in a block, but aggressive within that, which might suit us. Back three-wise, are we happy with that? Shaw, De Ligt, Mazraoui. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone think we definitely need Euro? We always struggle against teams that play defensively. Yeah, we do. We have a real problem playing through teams. We've looked at that stat a couple of weeks in a row now. When United have over 50% of the ball, we're not very good at winning. Our points per game is almost one down, which is a lot for us. But I don't know that this will be that sort of game. It depends. Perhaps if, Wolves were to get an early goal and go 1-0 up, then they perhaps collapse and park the bus. But I think they'll be a bit more in the mid-range than what we're expecting. I think they will, particularly facing a United side who's not exactly flying right now and playing at home, I think Wolves will feel there are moments where they can get after the ball a little bit. Imagine I'm worried about Wolves. This manager has to go, man. I said it the other day. Something has to change. It's up to you guys how you want to interpret that bit of information. But something has to change at United. Something tactically has to change. Hi AJ, hope you're well. I'm very well, thank you. I hope you are as well. What's your opinion on starting Mainu and or Lacey today? Or an early sub at half time? I mean, you guys saw my thumbnail. I've got Kobbie Mainu in the starting 11. Not because I think it will happen, because I would like to see it. I would always like to see Kobbie. I think if we are looking at a team that might try and jump and apply a little bit of pressure, I think Kobbie's really good at dealing with that. And I think if we are trying to break down a block at times, which will happen, Kobbie's tight footwork is really nice. So I'm always for Kobbie starting, but I would be quite surprised. I'd be surprised if he played before the 60th. And I don't think Lacey will play. If he didn't play the games at Old Trafford recently, I don't think he would play this one. I don't think he'd play this one. What's your score predictions? We'll come back to score predictions right at the end of the stream. We'll create our starting 11, figure out what we want United to do, then we'll predict the scoreline. That's the plan for today. Anyway, people seem pretty chill with the back three. Love that. Midfield. Let's have the conversation. Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes. They start every game. They start every game in midfield. They last 90 minutes pretty much in every game in midfield. In some moments it feels like it works because of their passing range. In other games it feels like it doesn't work at all because they can't cover the spaces defensively. Bruno Fernandes isn't naturally a defensive player. He sort of goes gambling higher in the press, and that exposes Casemiro. Casemiro doesn't sort of have the ground coverage, the mobility to then sweep up behind him. He likes to lunge into a tackle. He's one booking away from suspension. It's a tricky one. Is there something that needs to change in here? Our options realistically are Kobbie Mainoo and Manuel Ugarte. Now, let's mark him properly. Bosh. Let's make it massive. Ugarte. My lookalike. I get the feeling no one in the chat is going to say Ugarte should start. Mainly because of that stat which went around the other day. I can't remember it exactly, but the amount of goals that we've conceded with Ugarte on the pitch, and like the number of minutes he's played as well to apply context is just crazy. I get a feeling you guys aren't going to want Ugarte. So the question is basically Kobbie with Casemiro or Bruno with Casemiro? Because I think we still need Casemiro. I do. Some people might say we're playing the worst in the league. We don't need a defensive midfielder. We don't need that ball winner. But I think his experience is important. I think he helps us with balance. Set pieces, if we're only playing one proper centre-back. I think Casemiro is very useful. Is this a game where we could see Kobbie Mainoo midfield? Could we see it? Could we see Kobbie come in and Bruno can go a little bit higher? What do we think? What do we think? Something needs to change, but I can't see Amorim making that change. Yeah, then the change might have to be something different. There might have to be. Is this what we would do or what we think Amorim will do? I'd love to have both conversations. In terms of what we think Amorim will do, I guess that points us towards Casemiro Bruno. But maybe something different. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, what you would like to do. But also, yeah, what you think Amorim will do is ultimately what we end up with. I'd like to see Kobbie and Casemiro and have Bruno drop in from the 10. I think the reason I like Kobbie Mainoo particularly for this game is because of the fact that we're playing against a block, but a block that can be aggressive. I think having someone in there who can look after the ball and take the ball under pressure and sort of attract pressure as well, I think his profile would be really nice. This isn't me just sort of trying to force him in just because I want to see him play. Okay, so it's partly that. But I actually think his profile lines up quite nicely for this game. I think he's the sort of player that could help us to find a way through. And it means Mason Mount would drop out, right? Which is a bit harsh on Mount. He's not done anything wrong recently. But also, he hasn't done anything completely game-changing either. You know, and it also maybe points to Xerxes not playing as well, or Cunha. But again, have either of them done enough to guarantee that they should start? Probably not. So I think it does open up that moment for Kobbie to come in and Bruno to go higher. Mainoo does well in small spaces. That helps versus the block. Yeah, and I think that could be really useful. Really useful. AJ, where do you believe in the pitch is at fault for us being unable to keep a clean sheet? Because it's definitely not Lomans. Yeah, what is it? One clean sheet in the Premier League so far. And look at the expected goals against. I sort of brushed over this a moment ago. Look at the expected goals against this season. The expected goals against, ours is higher than Wolves. Which is kind of crazy. Because we are talking about Wolves in terms of points tally, which isn't everything. But points tally being one of the worst Premier League teams in history at this stage of the season. Yet the expected goals against actually has us a little higher. That's worrying. That's a worrying underlying number, shall we say. That's a little bit concerning. As I mentioned earlier, it also points to the fact that Wolves have conceded more than you would expect. So perhaps they aren't quite as harsh as what the table looks. They aren't quite as poor as what the table looks, sorry. But That's not great. That's not fantastic. It's not exactly what we want to see from United, to tell the truth. Why do I think we concede so many goals? Defensively, I just think we're poor. I don't think we're very good at pressing unless it's a goal kick. Open play, I think we're passive. The second you're passive, that allows the opposition to come towards you. So, whereas the best defensive teams press well and keep the opposition far away, against United, it's very easy to come up the pitch into the United half. So that's one of the reasons why we concede a lot of goals, because we concede a lot of pressure. We become quite passive. I think out wide, we're not very good at stopping crosses. And then in the box, I don't think we're very good at defending crosses. And that leads to conceding goals, really. I think that's sort of how I see it. I think there's been a couple where you can sort of look at Lomans and go, I think if it was Onana, he'd have been blamed for a couple that we've conceded. But overall, yeah, I do agree. I think Lomans is doing well. I think he's doing a good, solid job right now. A potential banana skin game for us. I don't even know if I class a game as a banana skin game anymore. Like, I don't even know if they're banana skin games anymore, or whether they're just United have every chance of messing this up games. That's sort of how I see it now. I also think having Mainu, Bruno, and Casemiro all on the ball around halfway gives us the best chance versus a low block. I think especially if you put Shaw and Mazraoui in as well, you sort of combine them into that. I think there's a lot of potential for sort of rotations and a bit of freedom. I guess there's an argument Kobbie could play left 10 if you really want to keep Bruno deeper. If Amorim wants to persist with having that energy and that mobility a little bit deeper, that's maybe something that you could do, because I think this will be a game where Bruno has moments, or the central midfielder has moments where they can go a little bit higher. I'm a fan of trying to get both of them in the team if we can. Could we be looking at a scenario where Amorim is working with Mainu to come in for central midfield when we lose Mbeumo and Ahmad to AFCON, with Bruno moving into the 10? Well, this is something we've got to consider. I keep saying this, right? At some point, we're going to lose 3 of our starting 11. At that point, we need the other players to be ready. The only way that they can be ready is if they play football matches. Whether it's Kobbie, whether it's Ugarte, whether it's Xerxes, whether it's Mount, whoever, that sort of replaces those guys. They're only going to be able to perform if they are sharp, if they are at match speed. Right now, a lot of them wouldn't be because we're not using them enough. So there's a problem there. Yeah. Good morning, AJ. Hope you had a good weekend. Simon, thank you very much. What did I do this weekend? I had a bit of a quiet weekend, actually, to be honest, but it weren't bad. Actually, I saw some family and friends, to be fair. And then I didn't watch much football this weekend, to tell the truth, but I did catch the F1 yesterday afternoon. I enjoyed that. Weren't a great race, but I enjoyed the ultimate championship result, so yeah. I don't see why Bruno and Mainu can't rotate the 10 and 8 depending on the phase of play. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what you get if you play a midfielder a little bit higher. You do get that license to drop him. The only concern I have is if you go Bruno in the 10 here, I think the wing back becomes a bit more of a problem. Let's say it's Dalot or Dorgu. Like, in terms of dribbling threat, you really have nothing. There's no 1-versus-1 threat at all. At least Cunha, if he plays left 10, gives you something in the fact that he can sort of drive past people and eat up the ground and things like that. This would worry me a little bit with Bruno pushing left 10. Because what we have seen a little bit recently is someone like Dalot will invert. But I don't know that we then want to shove Bruno wide, really. Like, Mount feels a bit more like he can do it because Bruno wants to be the main man a little bit more. He wants to be to the ball. He wants to be on the ball. Whereas Mount almost doesn't mind making runs to open space for other people. Bruno will do it sometimes, but not as regularly, I don't feel. A bit like Cunha, he wants to be on the ball. So that would worry me a little bit. That would worry me. Bruno right 10. Okay, now we might be talking. We are doing our starting 11 in a slightly weird order today, but I don't really care. You could push Mbeumo left. Have rotations down this side. That would work quite nicely. Ahmad on the right. You've got a winger on both sides of the pitch. Maybe. There might be something in that. Mount in the left-hand side 10 and Bruno on the right-hand side with Mbeumo as a striker. I don't mind that idea as well. Should we do wing-backs? And that might help us figure out what we want to do with where we're playing Bruno, if we're playing Kobbie. Is wing-backs the best place to go? And if so, just to sort of fill out the team a little bit, Is it as simple as... Let's just do this for a moment. Is it as simple as Dallo and Ahmad? Or is there a Dorgu conversation down the left? What do we think? Can we play Casemiro as the middle centre-back and use Mainu and Bruno in the midfield? Or is that not realistic? It's a weird one, right? This is where formations are very peculiar to me and the way that we talk about them. If you told me, for example, that United were playing a 4-3-3, let's say United played a 4-3-3, Mazraoui was a right back, Shaw was a left back, you had De Ligt and Yoro as your centre backs, for example, right? If you said we played like this and Casemiro was the middle centre back and you told me he's going to drop into the first line to get the ball so someone else can invert and someone else can fly forward, I would say that's completely reasonable. We could do that. But if you said to me, let's start him outright in a back three, I'd look at you and go, not so sure. I don't like it so much. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one, right? Because technically, in the first phase that would help us because it would be at least to be a midfielder inverting rather than De Ligt and stuff. It's weird. And that's why I think it's important for us to try and avoid conversations about formation and, try and avoid that as much as possible and think more about zones, areas, positions, more than formations. I like that, to be honest. Yeah, like you said, it's sort of a 4-3-3 in disguise a little bit. I would love for us to switch back to a 4-3-3. I mean, yeah, there's a problem here with our manager being too rigid. I'm absolutely of that opinion. He's not flexible enough. He's not tactically clever enough to change system. He is 3-4-3 or die. As much as I want to avoid formation talk, we can't escape it anymore. Amorim's going to play the 3-4-3. It's going to be that way. It's his way or the highway, it seems. And, who can blame him when it gets you 15th in the Premier League? Of course you'd stand by it. Yeah, it's a weird one. It makes discussions about United and discussions about rotations so difficult. You'd think game state would depend on or sort of dictate how you're going to play, but it doesn't here, which is concerning. Very concerning. And the thing is a lack of adaptability to the squad you have. If you're chasing a goal, then it doesn't make sense to sub on a defender or a defensive midfielder when you have someone like Mainu, who can break open the game. Yeah, and it is that refusal to change, which just hurts my brain. Hurts my brain. I don't know if you mentioned before, but what are the criteria of a wing-back, and do any of our players fit them? I think it depends club to club, right? I think our wing-backs are actually quite complex compared to a lot of teams. I think if you watch Palace play, for example, they play with their wing-backs, and particularly Munoz down the right, it really is a case of flying super high. It's lots of athleticism, lots of intensity, lots of energy, and lots of balls into the box, attacking the back post, things like that. With us, because of the thing we do with the centre-back going into midfield and all that, our wing-backs end up more regularly as full-backs. We pointed that out the other day that in the 94th minute, Ahmad was playing full-back when you need a goal. And not in like a, oh good, we're throwing everything at it way, but in a, why is our forward that deep sort of way. When we talk about Wolves, for example, when they play out from the back, which they don't do all the time, but when they do, they tend to split one centre-back, the middle centre-back here, the left centre-back here, and the right centre-back almost becomes a right-back, which means the wing-back ends up over here, almost like a right winger. Whereas when we talk about United in the first phase, because of where De Ligt goes, because De Ligt goes in there and these guys drop, Ahmad, rather than pushing up here, actually ends up as a right-back. So I think it's different depending on the club. Most wing-back systems are going to demand a lot of energy, though, for sure, just because it's so much covering up and down. I think ours is a bit weird compared to most, though. Good or bad, that's up to you, but different, shall we say. Shouldn't we start giving Mainu a chance if Bruno has to play 10 after Mbumo's departure? Yeah, I think that's a fair logic, to be honest. By the way, guys, I think we should be listening to Alex right now. He has asked you guys to like the stream, subscribe if you're new, and also get involved in the Discord if you haven't already. It is linked in the description, and it's a good place to talk about football. We will be covering the game there tonight. Oh, and David right on cue has dropped a link to the Discord. I think you did earlier and I missed it. But it is now pinned at the top of the chat. David, thank you very much. And yeah, guys, if you could like, if you could subscribe, it goes a long way. It goes a long, long way. So please do. If they go long, we might need 2 headers deep, Casemiro and De Ligt. Yeah, so I don't think I've got the stat today, but we did see it last week. Wolves are a team that will occasionally play out, but generally speaking tend to be quite direct. This is why I think De Ligt's return is important. Heaven against Wilson the other night didn't allow us to sustain pressure. Because when you're sustaining pressure, you have to be able to defend. It's not just about attacking. It's not just about keeping the ball. It's about when you lose it, winning it back quickly. And we didn't have that the other night. We didn't have that because it was easy to get at Heaven. And Wilson could hold the ball up and sort of bring the rest of the West Ham team with him. So that was our problem the other day. Which is why I think Casemiro is important in the team tonight. You might want more attacking profiles. You know, Kobe and Bruno, both central midfield to attack Wolves. But I think Casemiro is important, especially if we are only playing one prop centre-back. So I agree. I think both of these guys are important for this team. Can Salah play right wing back? At least we're not the only crisis club, eh? At least someone else has joined us to be doomed to mid-table in crisis. It's quite fun. It's quite fun seeing their downfall. At least there's another team in it with us. Heaven looked nervous at the start versus West Ham. Yeah, I think naturally so, right? He's not used to playing as a central centre-back for a start. He's not played much football this season. New position for him. All of those things, it all sort of combines. I don't think he done horribly, but yeah, you could tell he sort of wasn't ready for that. Not in the middle. I think wider centre-back might have helped him a bit more, but that's what injuries do, right? That's a profile problem at wing-back though, AJ. They need more winger profiles if they can't get wing-back specialists, which would be preferable. Yeah, I completely agree. The problem is, if you want winger specialists, they do spend so much time at fullback as well, though, which just isn't ideal. You know, we have... This might sound like such a small thing, but I think it's important. We have Ahmad. He's a wing-back taking throw-ins, whereas if he was a winger and we were in a back four, the fullback would be taking throw-ins. And in terms of who you're playing that to, taking a throw-in to, that's more attacking than Ahmad taking it here and throwing it backwards. It's a small thing. But it's stuff like this. We're already losing too many players to the African Cup of Nations. That's why I'll pass on Salah. I like it. It's bad that when we can understand Liverpool fans' frustrations. All looks very familiar, doesn't it? What's going on over there? We better be above them in the table by tonight. We better be above them in the table tonight. If not, I was going to say I'll delete my channel, but I'm not going to say that because that could go horribly wrong. That could go horribly, horribly wrong. Anyway, wingbacks. It's Ahmad. Is it Dallo or is it Dorgu? Dallo did get a slight knock the other day, didn't he? We were told the reason he came off was because he had a slight injury. Now, Amorim has said he expects Dallo to be fine, to be back. Is there a chance it just sees him rotated out? Not dropped necessarily. He got the goal the other day. Done all right. Played well the game before. I think if I'm trying to pick a best 11 for tonight, I'd still go Dallo, personally. And that's how I see it. I'm just trying to look at how I think this team is shaping up. We need to... Pardon me, I do apologise. We need to figure out what's going on here. What we do in there. Who are we going in a double pivot? And who do you want in that front three? Yeah, Dallo for his strong arms, to be fair. Who doesn't love a long throw? Who doesn't love it? It's the modern way, right? Left wing back for sure, please. His momentum is exceptional. His use of the ball is smart. He can invert when on the opposite side. Easy decision. I like the idea of Shaw wing back. It's something that I would absolutely be trying. But the way that Amorim has spoke about it recently sort of suggests you might try it one day, but not right now. He made a comment about to play wing back, you need more minutes. You need to have trained there and performed there. And Shaw hasn't under Amorim. So I don't think he'll play wing back. I'm all for the idea. I quite like it. I'd like to see it, but I don't think we will. The problem is, right, if we're being if we're being truly honest with ourselves, in terms of picking an Amorim 11, we have to do that. Which sort of makes the team predictable at that point, right? Because that would then be Bruno Fernandes into midfield. That would be Cunha would play somewhere, you would think. That would be Mbeumo in the right 10, who has escaped because I've got him with my centre-backs for some reason. That would be Mbeumo there. And then, Xerxes or Mount would make up the other player. The question is there any chance Kobbie starts? We'll do a poll. Do we ever drop Mbeumo? No. We do not. We do not. Let's do a poll. Should Kobbie Mainoo start? Or, I don't know, is that a leading question? It might be. I don't know how else to word it. You guys can just decide. Kobbie in the 11 or not. You can view it as, should he start? Would you start? And will he start? Whatever. Sure, it's up to you how you look at that. But I'm going to word it like that because I don't know how else to word it in the moment, to be honest. Do you think Licha will ever get trialled as a 6? I don't think so. Not under this manager, especially. I think Ruben Amorim was asked about it the other week, and he said, like, good players can play everywhere. And Licha is a very good player. He's very good on the ball. But I think he said not for midfield. I think he made that quite clear. I hope I'm not making that up. I'm sure there was a question a few weeks back. I think there was a question a few weeks back where he was asked about it, and the answer was sort of, it's not really the position that Amorim sees him for. Maybe under a different manager, although I'm personally still against it. I think Lich's best work comes with everything in front of him, and he can sort of pick passes through. Whereas in midfield, you're a bit more back to goal sometimes. So I still see him as a centre-back for me. I think Cunha and Mbeumo start. The question is Mount or Xerxes. Who started the other day? What was the front three? It was Cunha, Xerxes and Mbeumo, weren't it? It's the first time they've ever played together. I didn't feel like they clicked. But I don't know that they got the opportunity to click because of the team performance. Was it their fault? Do you remember his interview in August when he said he has big plans for Kobbie? True, we shouldn't necessarily trust what he says in interviews. That's a very fair comment. Kobbie, Bruno and Cunha all need to be in this 11. Honestly, Steve, I think I'm on the same page as you there. I think I agree in terms of how I want United to take the game to Wolves tonight. Now, my only concern with Cunha, and this was something that we sort of picked up on before he joined the club, was how effective can he be in those games where you dominate the ball? For Wolves, he was fantastic because they were always counter-attacking, he always had space, he always had runners, so he had that room to carry the ball into. At United, you don't get that so regularly because teams do sit off a little bit more. That's my concern with Cunha. That's my concern. It is there. He hasn't evolved yet this season. It's still very early though, right? There's still time for him to get better at doing that. And as I said earlier, Wolves are a team who sometimes will jump on the wing-backs, especially. So actually, there might be pocket space that opens up. There might be pocket space that opens. I don't know why I feel we will lose. Probably because you're a United fan. That's probably why you feel that. Because you're used to it. Hopefully Kobbie can recreate his goal at Molineux. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Hopefully it's like to put us 5-0 up though. But it's one of my favourite goals the past few seasons. I went absolutely mental at that goal. Even Ten Hag said Martinez didn't have the legs for 6 after he tried it at Ajax. Yeah, and that's in a slower league. So I don't think we'll see it. Especially after the injuries as well. It might have affected him a little bit. Although I did see some comments that apparently he's quicker than he's ever been at United currently after some tests and training. Are we one Casemiro injury away from disaster? Feels like 2020... Was it 2022, 23? Was it that season? Where that was very much the scenario. Yeah, a little bit. Not only an injury, to be honest. He's a yellow card away from suspension. So there's a concern there because right now I wouldn't trust Ugarte to come in. Ugarte will be gone in the summer. I'm so sure of it. I don't think he's got a future at the club. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked one way or another. So yeah, there is a concern there. I mean, that's another player we've got to think about in terms of fitness, right? Is Casemiro someone that can play every 4 days? I don't know. Now, after this one, we've got a bit more of a break. But we do have to be aware of this. Cunha's had a couple of knocks too. Let him fully settle. Yeah, I think the concern I have is one that I had prior to him joining, so it's not really changed. But yeah, in 12 months, he might well have improved. He might be much better at it after facing it more regularly. We definitely need to give him time. The team I want to see is Lomans in goal, Casemiro as the middle centre-back, De Ligt to the right, Yoro to the left. I'd love to hear your reasoning for the two wider centre-backs. I'd like to hear that. Shaw or Dorgu left wing-back, Dallo right wing-back. Bruno and Mainu as 8s, and Mbumo and Ahmad as 10s, and Cunha up top. I like it, because it's a very different team, and I like it. This game is quite simple. He needs a start. Yeah, that's fair. Just looking at the poll, 71 votes. Thank you very much, guys. 80% Cobby start. Now, I think I didn't word it very well, but the poll says Cobby starts, so I'm going to put him in. Cobby Mainu deserves to start. We've got to be thinking not just about our best chance of winning this game, but also the fitness that we need to get into him, because we've got the African Cup of Nations coming up. He needs to be playing. We need to keep this guy at the football club because he's our best academy graduate that we've produced in years. He's our best central midfielder at the club in terms of the specific profile that he is. Use him and play him. We chased his profile for so many years, couldn't find it, and made it ourselves, and now we're potentially throwing it all away for no reason, it seems. I don't understand why you wouldn't play him. So, Cobby in, which means Bruno goes higher because Bruno will play. And if you want to break a team down, you want Bruno in your team because of those moments of magic, that ability to produce something out of nothing. I also think Bruno's ability to rotate deeper at times alongside the ball might even allow Cobby to go a little bit higher, or might even allow one of the wider centre-backs to advance, which I think is good. I like that. So that means Mbumo right, because it pretty much always is. Cunha or Xerxes? That is the question. We will do a poll once again. And as someone has pointed out, leaving a like on the stream is just as easy as voting in the poll. So if you have voted in the poll, if you are enjoying this stream, or even if you're hating it, if you could leave a like, that'd be great. That would be great. It'd be really, really appreciated. If you could please do that, it'd be amazing. And I'd be very, very grateful. Anyway, strikers, Xerxes or Cunha. Do I see a different option? This isn't a game where we go... This isn't a game where we go fullback, swingback, is it? Like Ahmad could go into a 10. Surely not. Surely not. Are we completely discounting Mount? True. I think with this 11 we have to. If you know what I mean. I think if Cobby and Casemiro were to play together, I think it means Bruno has to go left 10. Or in the 10 somewhere. And I don't think he'd go Bruno and Mount. Just based on sort of what we prioritised in the summer with the players that we signed, the profiles that we looked for, what we didn't do last season, what we didn't have last season. I think it's unlikely that we would see the two of them as 10s. I think he wants a winger in the 10 if he can. So I think Mbumo will play there. Unless you then used him as a false 9, perhaps. Maybe. Maybe. Cunha, because the return goal is always on the cards. Yeah, if there's a game for someone like Cunha as well, like his attitude to the game is the sort of night where he'll score a goal. Hasn't Mbumo gone striker before? He played there a fair amount for Brentford, often alongside someone, rarely as a number like a main number 9 by himself, often alongside another striker. But yeah, he has played there before. He has. There is that argument now of who suggested it earlier, I can't remember. But could Bruno go right 10 and Mbumo come to left 10? I don't feel that we've then got either of them in their best position individually. But team balance, it gives us a winger on both sides, which would be quite nice. So I don't know. Mason honours a sub when we are winning, gives Wolves a Mount 10 to climb. My mod, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise. I do apologise for his behaviour. I'm going to join the Discord and delete Twitter. That app is disgusting to talk about football in. Do that. Do that. If you want to hear the good news from Twitter that you get, because it is good for news updates, but you want to get rid of all the other absolute horse beep that comes with it. Join the Discord server. Join the Discord server, because it is just class. You get like the news that you need to hear to keep updated with United, without all the rubbish, with more level-headed opinions and like tactical discussions. It's just good fun. It's just good fun. I'm sorry, you guys on Steve's side here after that joke. That's crazy. That is crazy. I've got to really look at what I've created here. What is this community? All right, the poll says Cunha up front over Xerxes. How do we feel about this as a starting 11? How do we feel? What do we think? Where have we got balance? Where have we not got balance? Talk to me. How are we feeling? Obviously, in terms of what side Kobe and Casemiro play, it is up for debate. I'd love it if there's a way you could get these guys all close to each other. I feel like these three, with Dallow's off-ball runs, could have like a nice understanding with each other, nice dynamic, and want to play a similar type of football to each other. Potentially. Cunha's a bit more selfish at times, perhaps a little bit, but I think he is capable of that two-touch football as well, and that sort of roaming into different positions. That would be quite fun. On the other hand, having Kobe right-footed with these two both left-footed could be quite useful to us on that side of the pitch as well. The concern with the balance is the no width on the left-hand side. I agree. There's no natural wide left threat here. There's no left footer over here. The midfielders are both right-footed as well, so even if they join, yeah, it's not great. There's maybe the option to do that. I quite like it. It's not Bruno's best role, but these things happen in life. I quite like that as a solution. I mean, we say Bruno's like, it's not his best role on the right. No matter where you play Bruno, he will appear on the right because it's what he does. He plays everywhere. And if he plays on the right, he will pop up on the left because it's what he does. I wouldn't mind something like this. I wouldn't mind this as a starting 11, I'll be real. I wouldn't mind that at all. This is probably more likely because it gets Mbeumo and Bruno on their better sides. Yeah, I think Dallow's like off the ball runs would be very important into that space. Not necessarily expecting the ball, but almost as a decoy, as like a pinning mechanism to force Wolves a little bit deeper. Creating room for Bruno. That would probably be the play there. Rather than Dallow necessarily being the main threat himself, it'd be about making others more threatening, I think. That makes sense. I'm also thinking, did Steve mention if it could swing into a 4-4-2? Did I see that? Upside to the right. I'm trying to get my right and left sorted out here. Yeah, I actually see that, to be fair. If you wanted to swing off the ball into 4-4-2, I mean, apart from the fact that Shaw ends up centre-back, but, you know, we've had that problem all season. It can do that, on and off the ball as well, which is important. On and off the ball. Mazraoui in possession could hold width sometimes, and Dallow could come a little bit deeper and things like that. Yeah, I like it. I like it. AJ, one of the right side issues, who should provide width and who should underlap out of the right wing back and the right 10? How do they balance that, and who should be in the half space more? It's a great question. I don't know if I have the answer. And this is where it's a little bit confused, I think, and it's why naturally it doesn't immediately blend. Because I think they both want to do the same thing. I think both of them want to end up here. I think Ahmad loves being inside close to goal where he can knit and combine and wiggle through people. And Mbeumo loves being here because he can score goals from there. But I don't think either of them are amazing back to goal in that position. So it is like they both want to start out here and then come in, which is why I still think the ceiling is high, because I'll keep saying it. If you get two right wingers on the same side of the pitch, no one in world football does it. It's such a unique threat. That's why it has so much potential. But it's also why it's going to take so long to get it right consistently, because I think instinctively they block each other. So I don't really know who should be doing it more. I really do think it should be a mixture. it should be a mixture. You know, the other night, Ahmad did very well playing wide right, going 1 versus 1 in the first half especially. But that sort of nullifies Mbeumo a little bit, because whilst Ahmad's cooking 1 versus 1, there's no need to go and overcrowd it. We don't need to do that. So I really do think it's a case of one move and Mbeumo should be in here. Next move, Ahmad should be in here. Particularly because Amorim puts such focus on the wide play as well. Sometimes his right forward doesn't see that much of the ball, because the right wing back sort of just goes 1 versus 1. It means that this guy in the pocket isn't seeing so much of the ball. So I think I'd be sort of rotating them if it was me. I think sometimes we do lack that right footer to bomb around him as well. That's why Bruno could be good if he was to play right, because as one comes in, he would then make that sort of arching run round onto his right foot, where you might get a cutback or a cross or whatever. Mason Mount would probably be good for that as well, if you could find a way to get him into the team. It's sort of like the reverse problem of or the same problem really, is what we have on the other side, right? They're right-footed, so want to come in, and then we don't have that lefty sort of whipping around to then fire that ball across the box. At least on the right side, we have right-footed midfielders who will go. I guess that helps, but yeah, it's not great. It's not ideal. Our marquee signing is not seeing a lot of the ball. Yeah, and that's a problem. I haven't got the numbers today, but if you guys go through the stats, Mbeumo's shots recently have plummeted. He's always a player who has a lot of efforts on goal. It's dipped massively recently, massively. Ahmad as a right wing back, Bruno as the right 10, and Mbeumo as the left 10. Yeah, it's definitely a potential solution. This is where I sort of want to headbutt the manager, not in an aggressive way, like in a what are you doing way, bang. Because now, for the sake of playing in a 3-4-3, we're playing Bruno on his weaker side and Mbeumo on his weaker side, simply because we've got to try and force ourselves into this formation. That's where the manager should be more adaptable and should have different solutions to move away from this shape to find a better solution. But he doesn't. He's not going to, because he's not that as a manager at this point in his managerial career, which is frustrating for us, very frustrating for us. And it holds us back most game weeks. But it's sort of where we are in the problem we've got to deal with. This is an option. It's a forced one that shouldn't be forced. We almost bring it upon ourselves a little bit. Does it work? It's a question. Does it work? You know, I'm always a fan of wingers both sides. I'll always be a fan of that. I like the fact that down the left, Kobe could join with these guys, and down the right, Bruno could join with these guys, whilst Casemiro sort of holds. I like that. But in terms of actual direct goal threat, you now got Mbeumo's left foot sort of like taking him further away from goal, and Bruno's right doing the same in terms of actually directly shooting. So it's a tricky one. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can do a poll on that, but I don't know how I would do it. Amorim's so handsome, it's hard to headbutt him. His looks get him out of a lot of trouble, I tell you. I'd have been harsher with my words by now if you weren't so bloody handsome. He's a lucky man. Can we start Heaven again if Yoro is benched? I don't think we would. I wouldn't start him in the middle again. Sure, his long-term career might be there, but right now I don't think he's in a place to be able to do that, to be honest. Heaven, I don't think he's suited to that role yet. I think he's a wider centre-back for now. Sort of let him grow as a player before you could eventually move him in there. And in terms of the wide centre-back role, right now I think Shaw's better and Mesraoui are better. So I would go with that back three, personally. AJ, how do you expect United to score today? Just a lot of hope. Pure hopium. Nothing else. Just vibes. Just hope the ball goes in the net. Just kick it somewhere near the goal and hope it flies in. That's the plan. No, it's a good question, right? And this is what I was sort of, I guess, alluding to in my video that I did on Saturday when I was asking the question and going through the phases and figuring out that United aren't really good at anything. Apart from pressing on goal kicks and going long, we're not good at an awful lot. Like, you ask the question... I'm sorry, I do apologise for my phone. You asked the question, how do I expect United to score? I don't know. I don't feel that we have a reliable way of scoring goals. It's normally individual brilliance or a set piece. sort of at the moment. So that's worrying. That's worrying. If we're talking more of a systematic thing, if we're talking more looking at Wolves, there's going to be a chance from this space here to get balls into the box, and the same this side. That's something that we can look at. The problem is we don't have great players in the box to attack that ball. Without Sesko, we don't really have that man. But I think there will be space outside of the Wolves shape where you do have that chance to cross from here, that sort of deep cross towards the back post. And I think the wing-backs coming in will be important. I think Dallo and Ahmad have got to be aggressive with their movement at the back post, something that we'll be looking for. And also in those moments where Wolves are more 5-2-3, which does happen sometimes, I think there's a space in there for some long shots. Or maybe not a long shot, maybe a cutback, but that space on the edge. So that might be, Ahmad gets to the byline, cuts the ball back. Can someone arrive? Could it be Casemiro, Bruno, Kobe, Cunha, whoever, I don't know. But someone arriving. Or sort of picking it up in front of the block and having a hit. That is something that I would consider, yeah. Definitely consider that. I'm going to sneeze. We're good. I don't want to sneeze. I hope Cunha and Bruno's ball striking will save us. I think we'll need it to. We might need it to. Or, I don't know if we will rely on it, but I think it could be a useful tool for us. Should we do score predictions? Whilst you do that, I'm just quickly going to mute and put something else on screen and sneeze. You guys get your score predictions in the chat. Who's going to score? What the score is going to be? The theme of the game. Get your predictions in chat, and I will read them out in just 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to put something random on screen. Just ignore it for now. Ignore all that. The stream hasn't just started. Score predictions. What do we reckon? Also, I want to hear from you guys. I know what my viewpoint on this is. It's very strong. How important is a result tonight? Or do we just need a win? The table will tell you just need a win, right? 3 points would be on 25. Joint with Chelsea, behind on goal difference in 6th. Not bad. Not bad. But I want more. I want more than just a result. I want performance. Did I say that the right way around? I don't know. I want a performance from United as well as a result. I think there's an expectation for us to perform, to actually be dominant. We didn't achieve it against West Ham, one of the most passive teams in England. So I wouldn't say I'm confident that we can do it tonight. The performance. I'll be real. I'm confident we get the result. I just think we've got too much quality. I've thought this often recently. But again, I look at the game and I think we've got so much individual quality compared to them. We know that sort of set piece that we can rely on as well to be a threat. I expect United to win this game. The question for me is performance. The result should be a given. As crazy as it sounds, I think it should be. This is a 2 point. We need a performance. This is a 2 points Wolves. Exactly that. They are on track to be like the worst team in Premier League history. For me, you have to go and dominate them. You have to. Now, I've seen people say if they score, I'll lose my head, right? Because if we look at their results, they haven't scored in a lot of games. I'm not quite on that front. I think every Premier League team has quality. Every team is capable of scoring a goal. Wolves, they might get a set piece and score from that. I'm not going to go into meltdown at that if we concede. If we concede 2 or 3, yeah, I'll be hitting someone. But if we were to concede 1 from a set piece or a worldie, these things happen. But look at them. Look at that form they're on. Look at it. We've got to go and dominate and control and destroy and look miles better than them. We have to look miles better than them because we are talking about one of the worst Premier League teams of all time. If we cannot look drastically better than them, there is a problem. There is a problem. So a dominant performance is more important to me than a 3-0 win, even. The performance is what's big to me. The result is not even, we can't even argue there. We have to get the result. We have to get the result. There's no debate in that. The performance is huge to me. Absolutely huge to me. I won't be impressed if we win tonight on a set piece and don't perform well, I won't suddenly think like, cool, we're going in a good direction. It should be easy to win this game. The win should be there. The performance, though, if we can't look significantly better than this Wolves side, I will be very concerned about the long-term project. More concerned than I am right now, and trust me, I'm concerned right now. So, yeah. Over to you, Ruben Amorim. Over to you. If we lose, then the pressure could be back on Amorim's shoulders. I don't want to think about a world where we lose this game. I don't want to think about it. If we were to lose, it's not looking good, right? The results recently haven't been good enough. You know, Forest, Everton, West Ham, all games that we should have picked wins up. We should have. We spoke about the fixtures. They were all wins. How many points did we target from these? We had a conversation, and the minimum was 11, right? Is that what we set? We're on 6 from these games. That the minimum that was acceptable, we said, was 11. Maybe that weren't including Forest. So maybe we were on 5. I don't know. But yeah, the fixtures coming up are a little bit rough after this one. Wolves again at the end of the month at Old Trafford. You would expect to be a comfortable win. But Bournemouth, Villa, Newcastle are all quite tricky. So we need points tonight because it's going to be difficult to get points after tonight because these are sort of bogey teams that we've got coming up. So yeah, we need points tonight, but like I said, we need performance. As Alex points out, it's another low block breakdown exercise. Again, I think not quite as low as West Ham. I might be wrong on that. I think they'll be a bit higher than West Ham, a bit more aggressive. I think they'll press a bit higher on goal kicks and stuff. So not quite as low, but I still think, yeah, it's a tough game for United because of us, because of what we are, because of how we are, because of how we play football. So yeah. I'll be making an edit of this stream if we lose now. Steve, I will be there. I will be there. Villa will be the toughest one after they beat Arsenal. Yeah, Newcastle are always very difficult for us as well. Bournemouth are a side that press well, although concede quite a lot of goals. They're difficult games. They're difficult games, for sure. My score prediction for tonight... I don't know. I do not know. I do not know what to expect. I expect us to win. I do. I do expect us to win. Even at my most pessimistic self that I am right now, I expect United to have too much. I expect United to be too good, to have too much for Wolves. I truly accept that. Expect that. The score. 3-1 keeps springing to my mind. 3-1 keeps just jumping at me, and I don't know why. 3-1 is the score, which is like flashing in my face right now. Chad, if this is the day we get to 6-1, I'll be amazed. I'll be amazed. But also quite happy, providing you mean 6-1 to United, right? Right, Chad? Please. Please. Please, Chad. Please tell me you mean 6-1 United. I'm going to go 3-1. I'm going to go... my goal scorers being Cunha against his former club. Bruno hasn't scored in ages. Cunha and Bruno, lovely. And the third goal to be Mazraoui, for no apparent reason, just pops up for a goal. Bish, bash, bosh. Lovely stuff. What other predictions have we got going on here? 1-1, take it or leave it. 1-0. Chad says, yeah, to United. Not sure if I believe him. 2-0 or 2-1 United. Optimistic 4-0 statement win. That's the word for it. Statement. Oh, but if I'm being realistic, 2-1 scrappy win. Ugh. You had us in the first half, clan. 3 points tonight is everything. Expecting to walk it is to not understand football, in my opinion. I don't expect us to walk it. I expect us to dominate it. Whoa, let's check the word in there. Do I expect us to dominate it? No. I demand that we dominate it. I don't expect us to. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We should get 3 points tonight. We should. We should also put a performance with it. I don't know that we'll get both. We'll see. Feel like it would be a 3-1 or 4-1 United win. I would be very happy with that. 5-1 to United, lovely. I see 12 points there, easy. Love that from you, Steve. Did you see the stat that Moyes has more Premier League wins than Amorim, despite joining 2 months later? I did indeed. 3-1 United, yes please. 24 likes away from 100. Oh, if we could get to 100, that would be amazing. If you are enjoying the stream, and if you think United are going to win, or draw, or lose, make sure to leave a like on the stream. If we get anything other than 3 points, it should result in him being sacked before the match ends. Wolves haven't scored for how many games? 4, 5? Let's have a look. I think it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5. Not going to lie, a statement win against Wolves shouldn't convince people of the system. No, I agree. I do agree. Not producing a statement win should tell us a lot about the system, I believe. That's what I think. That's the thing. That's what I think. And subscribe. Absolutely. Like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. That'd be great. Anyway, I think that's everything that I wanted to discuss today. We've covered that. We've covered that. We've mentioned this. We spoke about this, didn't we? Yep, we spoke about that. Oh, and this is just the other point. There's a chance again tonight given to us by the fact that the Premier League is like full of quality and completely lacking quality at the same time right now, which makes it a very confusing, tight league. Sunderland, our competitors, have dropped points. Chelsea have dropped points. Bournemouth have dropped points. Arsenal, if you want to be really ambitious, have dropped points. Liverpool have dropped points. Brighton have dropped points. There's teams around us that have dropped points, which means there is a chance to climb the table. But I'm not sure. Well, I think we'll win. 3-1, Manchester United. Yeah, that's as much optimism as you're getting from me right now, because I don't really like this football club. That's sort of where I'm at right now. Anyway, I think that is everything that I wanted to cover for today. We've gone through the team. We've got a slightly different 11 to normal. Will Kobbie Mainoo actually start? But wait and see. If you want to see everybody's reaction to the team news when it comes out, make sure to head over to the Discord server and get involved in the Matchday channel. Completely free to do. So go check it out. But yeah, apart from that, there's nothing left to talk about. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to all the gifted memberships we had right at the start of stream. That was very kind of you all. And also thank you for the super chats we had as well. Thank you to everyone who liked, everyone that got involved in the polls, anyone who has subscribed, got your notifications on, anything like that. I really do appreciate you guys as always. I will be back tomorrow morning with a video covering this game. I'm not sure on time-wise because there's potential that I'm spending the day at hospital tomorrow. I don't fully know what's going on, but there will be a video at some point tomorrow morning about this game. Hopefully a United win. I don't know exactly when that will be, but yeah, that is what is to come, and videos for the rest of the week up until the next game as well, and we will be streaming again on Friday. So yes, that is the plan for this week. Apart from that, I've run out of things to talk about for today, so thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see you all very, very soon.